Okay, welcome back to the secret underground lair. So I went through a pile of wood after sharpening the blades on the surface planer, the thickness planer. Shout out to Aldoon. I did set the blades down in the jig and brought the stone to the blades. That worked very, very well. So I was able to get all the wood down to 3/4 of an inch. Looks good. Now I'm going to cut each of these pieces into their appropriate length. I've gone through them and identified what I want for table A and table B. There are two tables. And the sides, the backs, and the drawer fronts. So each piece is labeled. I'm now just going to cut it to rough length. Then we're going to trim everything, get straight edges, and get to the appropriate width. I was targeting about 5 inches. It's looking like it's probably going to be more like 4 3/4. And then we'll cut them to final dimension after we have all the rough cuts and straight edges put on. So right now I'm just going to go through and kind of get the rough blanks. There's the not quite IKEA version of our 2 night tables. So all the pieces roughly cut, tops, backs, sides, drawer fronts, legs, top shelf, top surface, and bottom shelf. So next we'll be getting the width correct. I'll leave the drawer fronts till a little bit later, but I'm going to put a straight edge on everything to start. A straight edge on all of these sides and drawer fronts and backs. And then we'll get them to appropriate length. So we'll start with that. So for this operation, I'm using my taped on straight edge. And we're just going to get So we'll just get a little shave off these pieces. I'm going to be adjusting the fence a little bit as I go because these pieces are of varying widths. Not by a lot, 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch. So I just want to take a shave off one edge so that it is straight, and then we can deal with getting everything to the exact same width after we have that straight edge. Straight edge on everything. Our shortest piece or narrowest piece is this one here, and this one is 4 9/16, which means we should probably make everything 4.5 inches in width. Now I could add a little bit onto this, but I'm only going to be adding 1/4 of an inch tops. That's our next piece is going to be here. So at most, best we're going to do is 4 3/4. So and make everything 4.5. I'll give the drawers a slightly narrower appearance, which I think will look better in the end anyway. It's a little bit closer to the original photograph that we were given. So I'll set the fence up to 4.5 and we'll run all these boards through and get right width on everything, then we can cut to proper length. By the way, if you saw me on the, as I was making these cuts, I was putting a little mark on every piece. I was putting a check mark on each surface that has been, that is the straight edge. So that's the side that I want to be putting up against the fence. All right, set to 4.5. Now I'm going to go through the drawers, by the way, are probably going to be 1/8 of an inch less than that, but we'll deal with that when we come to put the drawers on. So just get everything cut to that same size and be consistent. More in the time lapse, and here we go. We are at the point of cutting pieces to actual size. So I'm working on the backs. They're 17.5 inches. And then we're going to take a 1/2 inch tenon off each of these eventually. So they're going to be cut down even further. In fact, all the pieces, these side panels are going to be cut down a little bit. But I'm going to start with just trimming up a square edge here. And I have my fence set with the block so I can set the piece in there and just cut them square. I have 2 pieces to square up, this one and this one. Once they're squared up, then I'll just 4 straight cuts, getting the backs to length. Okay, next our side panels need to be 16.5 inches. So I'll go through these 8, I have 8 of them. Make sure I've got square cuts and then cut them to length. Set the fence to 16.5. Okay, next up I'm going to cut the legs to the exact length. That'll require a squaring off and then a cut to length as well. So, as you can see, I've opted to use the compound miter saw to make these cuts. Got a stop block set up here, 26 3/4 inches away from the blade. Got all my pieces stacked up here so I can simply grab a piece, put it in place, make the cut, set it aside. So that's the operation here. 8 of these cuts to go. There we are, our 8 legs now cut to length. We are now ready to start some joinery. So this is how the joinery is going to work. On our front leg here, our side pieces are going to come up here, and I'm going to have a 1/2 inch tenon cut in this piece, probably about that big, which means I want a mortise cut in here on this edge that'll accept that. This mortise is going to be a 1/4 inch deep, a 1/4 inch wide, so it's a fairly narrow mortise. And to make that mortise, I'm not going to use my mortising jig on the drill press. I'm actually going to use the router to cut that out. On the rear leg, it's a little bit different because we have 2 mortises to cut. One on the side and one on the back. Well, actually, 2 on the side. That one and 2 on the back. So I have to make sure that I don't get confused about what I'm trying to cut here as we go to cut it. Gonna have to make some careful marks and careful planning on this. So I'm going to cut these mortises first. We'll measure them out. And our measurements are going to be the bottom of the back. Sorry, that's the drawer. So here's the side and the back. They're going to be now 8.5 inches off the floor. Originally I had 8, but because we cut these to 4.5 inches instead of 5, we're now 8.5 inches off the floor, and 5 inches from the, or 4.5 inches from the top of the leg. The top of the cabinet sits right on top of the leg. The mortise will be 3/8 of an inch from the edge of the leg, on the outside edge. Hope that's clear. All right, I just did a little test cut. So I got the router set, as you can see on my router table, a 1/4 inch bit. Set up a fence. I put a line where the center of the bit is. And then I put some marks on the piece where I want the bit to start and stop. So the concept is lay the piece up against the fence like this, drop it in, push it this way just a little bit until these lines line up. That means that the center of the bit is right there. And then pull it back this way until that line lines up. Now the important thing is, well, what it seems to be as important is pulling the piece this way. That makes the bit push the piece into the fence. If I go this way, there's a tendency for the bit to push the piece away from the fence. So I want to start by going this way, just going up to the line like that. So piece in, just go up to the line, and then the bulk of the cutting going this way. Now I did two tenons on this, or 2 mortises on this rather, kind of representing a corner piece. Seems to work okay, and it seems to work very well going at full height of 1/2 inch in one pass, which is what I would like. So without further ado, let's have at it. So there are the tenons now. Yep, that's it. Perfect. Those are the mortises. That worked out really well, significantly faster than the mortise jig on the drill press. So now we can try cutting some tenons on the end pieces, get them to fit in here. But before I do that, I am going to actually cut the mortises on the other 4 legs while I have the jig set up. So I'll get them marked and cut. Come back when that's done. Oops. So on this piece, I put it up against the fence the wrong way. Put the plug on the mortise on the wrong side, so I have put a plug in there, sanded it off smooth, and I'm going to put this through again and cut the mortise on the correct side of this piece. I'm just going to let that set up. In the meantime, I'm going to do a test piece for the tenon. So there's our first test tenon, and I slip it into the joint here. It's a snug fit. And the pocket isn't quite deep enough. But that's okay. I have room where I can take that probably 1/8 of an inch off the length of the tenon. The measurements that I made accommodated a 1/2 inch tenon, but it's really the inside face that's going to be the measurement that we need. So I'm pleased with that. That's going to work. So we are now officially into joinery. Look at that. We got our first joint. So I'm going to call that a video for today. Good progress there. A little boo-boo on one leg, but we'll get that fixed. And then get the tenons cut on all these other pieces. It's going to be good. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video.